The rain came down in silver sheets over New York City, soft but steady, wrapping the skyline in a veil of mist. The city hummed below, yellow taxis hissing through puddles, neon lights flickering through the fog, and the distant echo of sirens slicing the night. From her apartment window on the 15th floor, Elena Hart watched the rain blur the city she once loved. Her reflection in the glass looked foreign, sharper, colder. Somewhere between heartbreak and survival, she had become someone else. 3 years ago, she had believed in love the way people believe in miracles. And the man who made her believe was Adrian Cole. The beginning. They met at Columbia University. She was a journalism student. He was a business major who spoke with confidence and walked like the world owed him a future. Adrian was charming, the kind of man who could make the most cynical person feel seen. He had that all-American dreamer aura, smart suits, brilliant ideas, and promises that seemed too perfect to question. You're going to write stories that change the world. He told her one night over coffee in a dim bookstore cafe. And you're going to build it, she replied with a laugh. They were young, broke, and in love. The kind of love that believed ambition was enough to hold everything together. For a while, it was. Then Adrian's startup took off. Investors called. Parties began. He became the face of Coltech Solutions, a New York-based innovation firm making headlines. Elena watched him transform from a dreamer into a celebrity. And then, slowly, into a stranger. The betrayal. It started with small lies, late meetings, missed dinners, unread texts. Elena, I'm swamped, he'd say, kissing her on the forehead before rushing out the door. But lies, like cracks in glass, always spread. One night, while scrolling through Instagram, she saw a tagged photo, Adrian at a gala, smiling beside Sophie Daniels, daughter of a Silicon Valley investor. The caption read, "Power Couple of the Year." Her heart stopped. The next morning, she went to his penthouse, rain still clinging to her coat. Adrian looked annoyed, not guilty. "Elena, don't do this," he said flatly. "You knew what this was." What this was? She repeated, her voice breaking. "You said you loved me. You said." "I did," he interrupted, eyes cold. "But love doesn't fund startups. Sophie's family. They open doors I could never open alone." She stared at him, tears stinging. "So I was what? Practice?" He looked away. "You were. Good for me when I needed grounding. But I'm aiming higher now." Those words sliced through her like ice. That night, she walked the streets until dawn, her reflection gliding beside her on every wet window pane. The city that once felt alive now looked like a graveyard of broken dreams. The fall. 4 months. Elena vanished from her old life. She quit her internship at the Times, ignored calls from friends, and buried herself in freelance copywriting. But silence became her weapon. Instead of collapsing, she rebuilt herself, not from hope, but from fury. She studied psychology, marketing, and digital influence. She learned how narratives were crafted, how reputations were built, and how they could be destroyed. She became a master of online disguise, fake profiles, anonymous campaigns, deepfake portfolios. She understood how one rumor, one story, one whisper could shatter an empire. Meanwhile, Adrian rose higher. He was featured on Forbes' Top 30 Under 30, hailed as the visionary of his generation. And Sophie. She was now Mrs. Sophie Cole. But their smiles and magazines couldn't hide the truth she saw behind them. The arrogance, the greed, the lie. That was when Elena Hart died. And Evelyn Hale was born. The return. Evelyn Hale was everything Elena wasn't: poised, mysterious, untraceable. She created an entirely new digital identity, a successful PR consultant with experience in managing high-profile tech branding. Her online portfolio looked real, her reviews glowing, her LinkedIn polished. When she sent an email to Coltech's PR department offering to elevate their global presence before their European expansion, Adrian himself replied, "Impressive portfolio, Ms. Hale. Let's set a meeting." The meeting. The office hadn't changed much: sleek glass, steel, and ambition. Adrian walked in wearing a designer suit, his confidence almost blinding. "Ms. Hale, he said, offering a smile. Pleasure to finally meet the woman who's been making waves online. Evelyn smiled softly. The pleasure's mine, Mr. Cole. You've built quite the empire. He didn't recognize her. Her hair was shorter, her voice more measured, her eyes colder. She spoke with precision, analyzing his company's weaknesses and how to refine the brand for global investors. He was impressed. By the end of the meeting, she had secured a 3-month contract with direct access to all of Colteca's internal data and communications. And just like that, Elena was inside his world again. The web. Over the next 2 months, Evelyn became indispensable. She managed his image, his interviews, his investor relations. She was efficient, intelligent, and just distant enough to intrigue him. Late-night calls became routine. He'd ask her opinion on everything, from business strategies to what tie to wear on camera. "Ms. Hale," he said once during a midnight Zoom call, "you have this mysterious calm about you." She smiled faintly. "I've learned calm is power, Mr. Cole. Please, call me Adrian." Exactly what she wanted him to say. By the 3rd month, he trusted her completely. She had access to his press drafts, his personal assistant's inbox, and even his private investor chat group. She used that trust to plant seeds, subtle edits in press releases, small leaks to gossip blogs, whispers about financial inconsistencies. Nothing big enough to alarm him, yet. The downfall. The final act came with Colteca's biggest deal yet, a $50 million merger with a European tech firm. Evelyn orchestrated every press detail. Adrian relied on her entirely. Then, the day before the deal's public announcement, Forbes Digital dropped an exposé. Coltec accused of investor fraud, fake partnerships and data manipulation. Screenshots, emails, and confidential data, all leaked. Every source pointed back to Adrian. The European firm pulled out immediately. Stocks plummeted. Sophie left him within a week, taking her father's investments with her. The empire crumbled in 72 hours. Adrian was left with lawsuits, debt, and a reputation soiled beyond repair. Evelyn watched it all unfold from her apartment, calm, silent, sipping coffee as the rain fell outside again. The confrontation. 3 weeks later, she found him sitting on a park bench near Central Park, wearing the same suit from their last meeting, now wrinkled and lifeless. He looked up as she approached, confusion flickering in his tired eyes. "Evelyn." He croaked. You vanished." She smiled softly. "Elena Hart, actually." His face drained of color. "What? How?" 3 years ago, she interrupted. "You taught me what love costs. Tonight, I just returned the favor." He shook his head, disbelief turning to desperation. "You ruined me." She tilted her head. "No, Adrian. You ruined yourself. I just handed you the mirror." He tried to speak, but she was already walking away, her heels clicking against the wet pavement, her silhouette fading into the rain. The last letter. That night, Elena, or rather, Evelyn, sat down at her desk and wrote her final note. "Dear Adrian, you once told me love doesn't fund dreams. You were right. But it can destroy them. I don't hate you anymore. In a strange way, I'm grateful. You taught me that pain can be sculpted into power, that silence can speak louder than screams. I loved you once. Now I only pity you." She printed it, sealed it in an envelope, and mailed it to his now empty office address. As she dropped the letter into the mailbox, the rain stopped. The city lights reflected in the puddles, gleaming like tiny fragments of broken stars. For the first time in years, she smiled, not with bitterness, but with peace. Because revenge, she realized, wasn't about destroying someone else. It was about reclaiming the parts of yourself they tried to break. And in that moment, Elena Hart finally came back to life.